Okay, we're live. What's up, everybody? Episode number 18, I believe. Yeah, episode 18. Tonight, we're joined by Dan Retzlaff. He's been a student of the fire service for 25 years, currently serving as a captain with the Columbus Fire Department in Wisconsin. His background is in information technology, where he develops software and leads high-functioning technical teams, bringing a unique perspective to his leadership on and off the fire ground. This dual career experience fuels Dan's deep passion for organizational culture and team dynamics. As a creator and host of the Forward Firefighter Podcast, he is dedicated to the constant improvement of the craft, whether it is in developing a department UAV program, instructing RIT drills, or promoting search culture. Dan is consistently seeking new ways to move the fire service forward to better protect and service community. Dan, thank you for coming on. Is there anything I missed that you would like to throw out there?
No, you got it all there. Just very appreciative and humbled by you doing this and asking me, who feel like, who am I to be doing this? A little bit of imposter syndrome thing here. But no, thank you very much, and happy to be here and talk shop.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your journey into the fire service, starting from the very beginning, and then kind of the way you've worked up to becoming a captain. And did you expect yourself to be where you are at now?
Yeah, so I guess my journey into the fire service starts at a very young age, where I was introduced to it. So I grew up in a small town called Lomira, Wisconsin, located just off Highway 41 south of Fond du Lac, if anyone knows where that is. And growing up in the 80s and 90s there, my guess is the population was around maybe 1,500, 2,000 people, so a real small town. My father was the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church there in Lomira. And so I grew up with being a pastor's kid, and we grew up in Parsonage, which was a house owned by the church. And that church was located right across the street from the fire station in Lomira, in the village of Lomira. So I can remember at a very young age just being intrigued by what's going on over there and seeing cars fly up, guys running to the station, and then the trucks rolling out. And just, my bedroom was facing out the front porch there, and watching those trucks go by, I just thought it was the coolest thing, right? And loved anytime they had like open houses and things like that, and being able to crawl around the trucks. I was always interested in that, and just always wanted to be a part of that culture sometime in my life. I knew I wanted to. And then also my next door neighbor, Brian Reese was his name, and he was the fire chief of Lomira for a long time there when I was there. So, he would tell me about different things and would get me really interested in those things. And I still remember there'd be times where he'd be out back and working in the yard, and pager would go off, and he'd be like, "Hey, Daniel, can you watch the kids for me?" And he'd run across the street and get in a truck and head on out. And I just thought that was so cool how, there's just people living their everyday lives, doing their jobs, but then when the tones go off, everything drops, and they're, in a high stress environment. So I thought that was always really neat. Funny story on that. Well, not really funny, but interesting, I guess. I don't know how old I was at the time. I'm guessing I was maybe 13, 14 years old, something like that. And it's a Sunday morning, and I hear a bang, bang, bang on the door. And I look out my window, and there are flames coming out of the house next door. And it was our fire chief's house. And couldn't believe that his house was on fire. And family came running over to our house, and saw the fire trucks just roll right across the street to the house right across the street. And I just remember one of the things, I saw a guy go up on the roof and start cutting a hole for ventilation. At the time, I had no idea what that was all about. I'm like, what in the world is that guy putting a hole in the roof for? They got fire coming out of the side of the building. So being able to see that and watch that fire firsthand, guys probably don't realize at the time, but that left a big impression on me. And I knew someday I wanted to be a part of a volunteer fire department. I know that firefighting may be something as a career down the road, might be something, but at that time I knew you had to pretty much be in a big city fire department and move to a big city. And I'm a small town kid, still live in a small town, and I had no interest in moving to a big city, and knew someday I wanted to be part of the volunteer fire service. So then as I got older and, my neighbor talked to me possibly about joining someday when I turned 18, and I'm like, yeah, I'm all for that. But then my dad was like, I'm going to be retiring in a year, and we're going to be moving to Fond du Lac. So I put those plans on hold. Went to school in Fond du Lac for computer programming at the technical college there. And at that time, I remember thinking, well, maybe I could join the town of Fond du Lac Fire Department. They actually have a volunteer fire department up there. And I was thinking, man, by the time I get done with training, I'm going to be off. Who knows where I'm going to be, where my career is going to take me, right? So from there, I ended up marrying my wife, my high school sweetheart, Becky, who we've been married now we celebrated 25 years this last summer. And thank you. She's amazing, and she's a big supporter in my fire volunteer career. I won't be able to do it without her and her support. And since then, we've been blessed with two amazing children, two daughters. They're ages 22 and 19 now. And it's been really great to just watch them grow and to turn into adults. But anyways, we got married young. We got married at 20 years old, Becky and I did. So I completed tech school and got a job. And actually, my job was in Elmira. I was at a printing factory up there, Quad Graphics. And I got a job in the automation department, working IT. And Becky was going to school at UW-Madison. And we wanted to find someplace in the middle. So we ended up in Columbus. And it was just supposed to be a temporary thing. Potentially, we'll see where it goes. Who knows where our careers will take us. And when we got here and got settled in a little bit, and it was kind of getting hard to know people around town. We were young. We didn't know anybody else. And then we drove by the fire station, and I'm like, you know what? And it struck that bug again. Like, I got to see what this is all about over here. And I knocked on the door one day, and Freddie Dart was the chief at that time, who has since passed away. He was a member on the department there for like 50 years. Great guy. Said, come on and sit down, and talked all about it. And then he made sure that I did not leave before I finished filling out an application. And I think he had gear picked out for me before I even left that first day. And the rest has been history. So since 2001, I've been on the department there, and it's a decision that I'm very happy I made back then. And the experiences I've learned, I've gained, and the things I've learned, wouldn't have it any other way. So.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like I said, congratulations on the 25 years with your wife. And like you said, being blessed with two kids, that's awesome. So tell me us a little bit about your department specifically. How many stations, volunteer, paid on call, everything with that. And then with that, just your way of working through the ranks up to captain where you are at now.
Sure. So we just have one station. The Columbus Fire Department is run by the municipality of the city of Columbus. So we serve the city of Columbus, and then we also serve the surrounding townships of our area, and consisting of a number of different townships where we're in three different counties too. So Dodge County, Columbia County, which Columbus is based out of, and then also we serve a part of Dane County and Dodge County. And it comes to about 119 square miles of territory that we have. So a decent, good chunk size of territory. Sometimes I explain it that we're almost two departments in one. We have rural trucks that respond, and we have city trucks that respond based on where based on where the call is, if it's in the city or if it's in rural. So we're a paid on call department. So I don't even remember what we get per hour, maybe minimum wage, if not that. I don't think anyone does it for the money. Right. I think we do appreciate it though, because, I don't know how many times you've been on calls and you rip a pair of shorts or something like that. It helps pay for those expenses and cover some of those costs that it may occur as being on the department. So that's appreciated. but it's definitely not something that is the motivating factor of being on the department. But I think we got a roster of, we can have a roster up to 40. I think we're in the 30, 35, something like that right now, if I remember correctly. And it's a great thing, a great department, and got to make a lot of friendships. And it's a second family is what it really is in the volunteer fire service. I think a great story on it being a family is recently there's a long-standing member who had a significant injury occur to him, and just to see the whole department come together and help this individual, and it was really neat to see how everybody's just helping each other out and helping this person out, and he was grateful for that, and I love just seeing how everybody comes together to help.
Yeah, I mean that's the basis of what we do. I've seen that in so many different examples, like growing up in the fire service and just everything with that. So it's definitely something we have to keep and can't lose. So earlier when we were talking, you had said you guys, I don't know, 270 or so fire calls a year. How many, I don't know if you have the exact number, but would you say of those, including auto and mutual aid and in your own district, are working structure fires?
Boy, I have all those stats, but not up in front of me right now. So yeah, I know we had a total of 274 calls last year, and that was a record for us.
Okay.
The year before that was a record, right?
Okay.
So are we seeing a lot of structure fires? To be honest, no. Not as many as I remember seeing when I first started the department back in the early 2000s. But we get our fair share, I guess, with what's in our jurisdiction in mutual aid. I'm going to come up with an approximate guess, and I'll probably get proven wrong, but I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 structures within our territory, and then we respond to maybe another 5 with mutual aid.
Okay.
So something like that.
Got it.
Yeah. Most of our calls, though, are lift assist. Okay. A lot of lift assist calls seems to be the number one call. So, yeah.
Got it. And then what is like the age range too within your department, and so you said you have a roster of 30 to 35. Out of that group, how many are you getting for your day-to-day calls? Is that number, I'm sure it's not right at that 30 mark, but is there kind of like, at least what I'm getting at is that my department, we have our 20 guys that on paper are here. And then, when the call drops, it seems to be a same group of, 12 to 14 people. So is that the same at your department as well?
Yes and no. It depends on the time, right? Daytime calls versus evening calls, things like that. I think we had a garage fire right after Christmas.
Okay.
And I want to say we had like 17 or 20 guys show up for that one.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, it depends on the call and the time of the day. And I think every department has those that, are technically on the roster, but you haven't seen them in a while.
Right.
I think that's just a norm for every department, and every department's got to have a strategy on how to deal with those things. And also being on the department all those years, you see people go through different stages of life, and you see people that are at times are on everything. And then you see at times where that may drop off a little bit because they got some things going on in their life for their family, and then it comes back. So it's when it's a trend of year 1, year 2, year 3, when it's really a problem.
Yeah, definitely. So as I mentioned in the intro, you are the creator and host of the Forward Firefighter Podcast, which is something I listen to, and I know other people, especially in Wisconsin, listen to as well. What made you want to start that? Did you expect it to, almost 40 episodes in, did you expect it to get this far? And then what are your future plans with it? Where do you see it going?
Sure. So what got me started on this? When I drive to work, when I'm doing chores around the house, yard work, I always like to be listening to something. I want to be learning something. And I started, getting into more of an officer role in the department, and it hit me like I just kept striving for more information, for more knowledge. making sure that I knew my stuff, right? And so I started picking up on different podcasts, like, Fire Engineering had some good stuff out at the time. There is, Corley Moore's, I'm a big fan of his, and all good stuff. And I'm like, I love this stuff. But there was never anyone that was striking the volunteer chord. So there was a lot of things on like station life and leadership within the station and training with those on your shift. And I think that's great. And there's lots of value in that stuff. I'm not saying that's bad, but nothing was quite hitting the area that I wanted to know more about. Like,
right.
What are challenges volunteers are having? What are things each jurisdiction, can provide from having more knowledge that's more localized knowledge, right? Rural water tactics. There's not a whole lot of things out there right now where you're really focusing on moving a lot of water, which I think we're really fantastic at in rural Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
So I, was listening to these and thinking there's got to be something else out there. Wouldn't that be great if there's something from Wisconsin? And so then I got the idea, like, well, what would it take to do this? And then I'm thinking that's a crazy idea. Why would I do that? And then I got thinking about it more, and I'm like, if I've been thinking about it this long, I should just try it. What can it hurt, right? So I just kind of came up with the idea, like, hey, I want to make sure that I can provide good information for the fire service, so that those that are in it, if they miss a drill or something, if they happen to pick up one of my episodes, and I have a guest who, like the last one, Paul Schumacher, talks about electrical vehicle fires, and they get a takeaway from that, that's awesome. That's what I want to help do. As the other thing I want to do is I want to be able to promote the volunteer service. As we're struggling to get numbers, huge time commitment. There's a lot of challenges that we have, but I've seen the benefit that comes from it, and I've seen the second family that comes from it, and the service that we're able to provide to our community. Not to mention the tax money that we're saving our citizens by doing what we're doing. I don't think people understand and know a lot of the work and involvement that goes in to these departments, and they're all over the state. And I wanted to get people that are, not to degrade anyone, but your average Joe firefighter like me, and the things that you do to protect the city, and how the departments are really the backbone of communities, right? So I wanted to get that word out, and maybe that helps retain some people. It sparks up some interest again. And if anybody's who has ever been thinking about joining a volunteer fire service, regardless of where you are in your career right now, whether you're just starting out, or maybe you're in a completely different field and you're in your 40 years old and you want to give this a try, I think there's great opportunity for that. And I want to make sure people are aware of that. So I sat down and spec'd out how I would do this. I talked to a couple of people just within my department. I talked to my Chief Hazelton and Deputy Chief Fox, and said, hey, if I do this, would you be one of my first interviews? And it was to start with just them. And then I started to network out, and I got more people who to talk to based on when I interviewed one person, I would say, tell me someone else that you think I should interview. And that's how I've been kind of working my way on out that way. And I commit myself to a year. And after the end of the year, if I don't want to do it anymore and I'm not having fun, I'll stop. This is a hobby for me.
Right.
And if it's going good and I'm still enjoying it, I'm going to do it for another year. So, and I tell you, it's been such a wonderful journey. The things that I have learned by talking to all these different people is been incredible. I mean, and the friendships that I've gained through this too, and the ideas that I can shoot to other people saying, hey, our department's encountering this. What are you guys doing about that, or doing about this? I'm going to do some name dropping, but I hate to do that because everybody I talk to has been so great. But like Lieutenant Brian Kep from Waukesha, had him as one of my first guys on, and he actually ended up coming up here to Columbus to check out the fire department. We took a truck out and drove around the city one day, and he just sat down and went over some drills that he's been working on and what might work for us. And stuff like that has just been amazing. So, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. You touched on a lot of things that I want to go back to. But the relationships and stuff that, you build from doing a podcast, I think is just, I don't know if there's anything really that comes close to it, especially like you said, you know, being able to run ideas and stuff through certain people. It's awesome. So keep doing what you're doing with that. It's definitely another perspective. Like we were talking about earlier, just Wisconsin is, I think, in a super good spot right now. We got a lot of good people here. So, yeah. And then something else you touched on too, which goes into this question. But overall, what do you feel is something we can do in the volunteer fire service to increase recruitment and maintain better retention?
Yeah, that's a lot. and I'm going to start with the best way to recruit is to start with retention, because you can have the best recruitment out there where you're bringing people in, but if you bring them into a firehouse that's got bad culture, they're not going to stick around very long.
Absolutely.
And I've experienced good and bad culture. Overall, I would not give anything up for my experience, but I've learned a lot over the years, and how you know, culture really does affect a lot. So yeah, I'd start with culture, making sure that it starts as a leadership thing, right? Everybody's a leader, and no matter where you are in the department, whether you're a firefighter rank, black helmet, it's just doing things that you know how to do it right, train hard, know your craft, make sure that you're ready when those tones go off, that you know what you're going to do, and making sure that you're always working everybody else to help make sure that they get better all the way up to the ranks. So everybody's a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was well put. I don't know if you could have worded that any better. I mean, that recruitment starts with retention. Like, why would someone want to stay if they come in and see like just a total mess? So, yeah, well said. What do you, your department specifically, what is, I know you touched on it, but the trainings and the meetings and stuff, what do those all look like? How often are you guys training as a department? Do guys, you know, come in on their own time as well? What does that kind of look like for you?
Yeah, so our department's organized into like 3 different divisions. So we've got a division on apparatus, a division on equipment, and a division on training. And I'm the captain of equipment, so I'm the guy who's like getting quotes and stuff for equipment orders and things like that. So we have a training department that we got a captain, assistant chief, and lieutenant that are focusing on making sure that we have a schedule each year. And then as they're getting ready for the schedule the next year, they have a number of meetings where they invite everybody from the department to say, hey, what do you want to see more training on next year? You know, and so we get all the ideas, and then they sit together and we have a meeting where we just start filling in the calendar. It's like, okay, these are our mandatories. We got these in. Now we want to make sure that we're, you know, pushing on a RIT drill. We got to get a RIT drill in there. We got at least 2 search drills in there this year, and we get it all filled up. So our calendar year is all planned out for the drills in advance. So you have plenty of time to prepare for those drills, and you know what's coming up on the calendar. And then different people are assigned to lead those drills. So if somebody has gone to, you know, a certain training last year that was on a certain topic of throwing ladders or something like that, you're probably going to get asked to lead a drill, or if not, be the person in charge, be one of the instructors that kind of helps and explains what you were taught to everybody else. So we try to get a mixture of people in there on leading things. I probably get assigned maybe, you know, 2 or 3 drills every year that I do. And every single Tuesday night we have a drill. So and each Tuesday of the month, it's a different focus. So one night is maintenance night, where we go through all the trucks, run all the tools, check everything out. And then we have our meeting after that. Then the rest of the nights are, you know, drill nights. And we make sure we get enough, certain number of extrication drills in there each year. And every Tuesday we're doing something. So, and then there's additional opportunities, of course, where people can go off and take other training. And then sometimes we've got drills with neighboring departments that we'll do. There'll be additional drills on other nights. And sometimes we have, you know, a weekend drill where we'll get some guys together and practice some things. Maybe it's a repeat of the drill we've done on Tuesday, and some couldn't show up. And so we'll do a repeat drill. And if people want to come again and get some more reps in, they're more than welcome to come and do that. So.
Awesome. I know we talked a little bit in your intro just about search culture and stuff and how that's something that you're trying to promote within your department. Where is your department with the search culture right now? Is it something that you guys prioritize and train on? I know you mentioned that you do X amount of drills with it, but is it something that's prioritized in your department, and where would you like to see it be one day?
Yeah. So where we are right now, well, it's one of those things where be careful of complacency. So I always think that we can get better, but I also need to look back and appreciate how far we've come on things.
Yeah.
So we are heads and heels above where we were, say, 4 years ago from now.
Okay.
And how search culture started? Well, I have to really hand it off to some of the younger folks that were not in department, and they went off and did a training. I think it was in Dodge County somewhere. And they came back, we're talking about, the tripod crawl and stuff. And I'm like, what are they talking about? Like, and at the time I was an officer, just newly become an officer at that time too. And like, I got to get up on this stuff, especially if we're doing a drill. And, search was just always like yeah, of course everybody does search, but it was never really focused. And it was never really deeply talked about. It was kind of brushed over, like, yeah, everybody knows search. And then I started digging in, thinking, okay, if I'm gonna, be a leader here, I need to make sure I know what these guys are talking about, and I don't want to just brush off what they're saying. So I signed up for a drill, or I'm sorry, not a drill, but it was a training down in Verona, and I met a guy down there, BJ Breacher, who I interviewed down there. Yeah. So it was a truck company days drill, and my eyes were opened up on the different techniques and tactics they were using. And I thought it was incredible. And, the whole VES and, not going in, being on all fours and grabbing the foot on the guy in front of you and ripping his boot off, right? Having the freedom to do things. And, when I went to school, that stuff was just drained in your head and just drilled in your head is what I meant to say. And, if you went off the way, you get whacked. Like, what the heck are you doing? You get back in line, right? And you build up muscle memory with that stuff, and you think that's just the way to do it. And then you realize, well, yeah, there's a way better way to do this. So I went to that training. I came back and I'm like, I got to incorporate this stuff into a drill. And, we have, I would say, a number of people, especially in leadership, who are pretty accepting to new ideas. But you got to take it slow, and you got to do it respectfully. And it's something like that is something when you're changing search culture and you're doing things like VES, or, you're searching at the same time, jumping in through windows and bedrooms while you're doing a primary attack on the hose line. That's not something that, everybody's always thinking of right away in past experiences. So in order to really be effective on this needs to be a whole department-wide thing. We need to know what's going on. So I talked to BJ and said, hey, guys aren't going to, I'm not an expert in this stuff, and I don't expect guys to listen to me because I'm not an expert, but I know enough to say we got to get better at this.
Yeah.
So I brought him in, and he conducted a series of 2 different drills. One was, it was all classroom, explaining why search culture is important, why we need to change the way we're thinking in the fire service, and the whole why. And then he came back, and then we did a whole bunch of dirty drags in our station. Every single person in our station, and our chiefs involved, we're also involved doing all of this. We're move trucks out of the bay. We're dragging people back and forth, doing all the different dirty drags that we can think of. And then from there, we segmented it out into, we had a house available for us to work on. And we couldn't burn it, but we filled it up with fake smoke. And we, did VES, and we did rescue out of a second story window, showing how to, position people coming out of the ladder correctly. And that was the start of our search culture and how it's really started to change. So since then, we've implemented in a number of different drills throughout the last couple of years, and it continues to be a focus that we have to keep maintaining now and make sure that becomes our new muscle memory.
That's awesome. I'm glad that, I'm sure there's other people with different experiences where they've brought ideas and stuff and it hasn't gone their way. And I'm glad that that has worked out for you so far. And again, just more departments that are moving in that direction. So, do you do training with surrounding departments on things such as search so that when you go to two jobs, you are all working at the same level and have the same technique?
We do. I mean, not to probably the extent that we should definitely do more. We do like a mass casualty drill with other
Okay.
departments in the area, and we practice like water supply tactics and things like that. But search is probably something that we need to keep working on.
Got it. Yeah, I mean it's you can only do so much, and something that I guess I go back to is the 10% of pressure 100% of the time, especially earlier when you were talking about like when you were bringing the new ideas, just being respectful. You can't be like too crazy. You're just gonna get shot down right away. So yeah, I mean
Right.
that's awesome. How do you, as a company officer, keep your people engaged on training nights? What are some tricks to keep them there for the entire night without having them run out the door when the time is late?
Yeah. So volunteer fire department training is tricky, right? Um, I envy the career guys that are together all day long and train together with the same people over and over on every shift that they do. I
Mhm.
mean, you can get really efficient. I'm assuming I haven't experienced it myself, but my assumption is you can get really efficient. You know what the next guy is doing always, and you just kind of become a harmony as a crew. That's what I would envision that is. Volunteer department, tones drop. You have no idea who you're working with that day,
Right.
and you have no idea what your job function is going to be that day. But if the tones drop tonight based on the order of when people get there and who shows up, I could be, running as the officer of the first engine out. I could be running and sitting in the back pulling a nozzle, which I love to do, and I will never argue doing that if someone says do that. I could be being the operator of our platform, right? I could be doing any one of those things. So on a drill night, we've got a ton of people. On a given drill night, I'm guessing we got about 20, 25 people that are there, right? And in that group, we've got people who have just started. They're going through entry level. We've got people who just got through Fire 1, Fire 2, who have been on a year and think, they're ready to tackle the world. And then you've got the guys that have been on for 30 years and are like, I can run this truck like no problem, but I don't know about putting on a mask anymore,
Right.
So you got to find a way to try to engage everybody. And it can be hard sometimes. But, if you're doing a drill and you try to incorporate different things and you got, maybe a certain crew over here working on what they're going to be focusing on, and then you switch things up and just trying to find different ways to make sure that everybody's involved and there's not just somebody standing in the corner where this doesn't apply to me.
Right.
Another thing too is your senior guys, they've been there, they've done that. They got a ton of stories.
Yeah.
Don't exclude them and say, hey, I'm doing this drill. I've got a station set up here. Could you help me watch these guys and maybe help adjust if any technique needs to be changed or adjusted, and maybe critique them or show them what's going wrong? Or maybe you can do a sample too and be my person that does a example of how this certain skill is performed, and get them involved that way too.
Yeah. Got it. That's like you said, you said it perfectly where you have the variety of different people at different points of their career, and it's like, how do you make everybody happy and keep everybody included? It can definitely be challenging at times.
Yeah.
So okay, what is your advice for a first responder who you think might be dealing with PTSD and mental health issues?
Oh boy. So I'm no expert on this stuff, but it's a thing and it's important. And I think everybody, depending upon where they're at in their career, needs to figure out what works for them. And it's not the same for everybody, and we need to respect that it's not the same for everybody. So what may not affect me in a call may affect someone else, we need to be sensitive to that, right? And make sure everybody's getting the help that they need, and we check in with each other. So I would say, I always concerned about when I started, when I first get that really nasty scene, how am I going to react? You don't know until you're in that situation, right? And I've seen some crazy things now over the last 25 years that I've been on. And for me, what helps is I've learned different ways to just get rid of stress, right? And what you think might not affect you, maybe a couple of days later, you find yourself thinking about something, or, oh, I should have done this better, or I should have done that better. That's usually what it is for me. What could I have done better in the situation versus whatever the outcome was? And for me, it's exercise, getting into a habit of being consistent, working out. And it doesn't have to be, kill yourself type of a thing. It's just going out and doing something. Making sure that I'm staying consistent with exercise, making yourself tired enough where you kind of feel like, all right, I'm ready to relax, when you're done with that. I go for walks with my wife, especially in the summer. Got some bad couple calls that came in, and we go for our walks and talk things out. And that's my therapy, right? Mm-hmm. For others, they got to do other things, and you got to try different things and figure out what works for you. But don't keep it in yourself. Talk to others, and know that you join a family, and this department's here for you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Is something at your department that you guys talk about frequently with each other? Speaking for my department, there is the conversation, but I definitely think there could be more. And we're a pretty slow department, so it's not like we go to horrible stuff every day. But kind of, is there a push for that and conversation within your department?
Oh yeah, definitely. We have a peer support group.
Okay.
And we have some people that are trained in counseling that lead that group. Our safety officer, Molly Callis, and others there as well that help with that. And so they do a yearly focus on making sure that here's the resources we have available. Here's a peer support group. Here's the individuals you can talk to, and it doesn't just have to be anyone from that group, as you can do. And then our departments through the city's got EAP services and stuff like that as well. Also, we got our so the church that I go to, Zion Lutheran Church in our town. I got our pastor involved as working as a chaplain, awesome. And he has been just phenomenal. He shows up for drills. He gets to know the people, and so it's not just, hey, I want to talk to someone but I don't want to talk to someone that was on that team or on that call, because I don't want them to think any different of me next time, or I don't want them to be afraid to give me an assignment because I know I can do it, but I need to work some things out, right? And he's a great person because he's not an officer. He's not a person who is, a part of the working conditions, but he's there. He's a part of the group, and people can go to him and in confidence, and it's confidential, and they can get things off their chest. And maybe that's all it needs, is just to get some stuff off your chest. And he's been a great help there and assistance there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it's something that you guys talk about frequently, that you brought in a chaplain and stuff, I think that's awesome. I definitely I guess it's surprising to me, and it might be something that's normal for you in your area, but that's super cool. So earlier we had talked about, before the show, about you saw the city you went to 2 years ago, the importance of outside training for you, and what going outside of your department has done, and then what the importance of everybody doing that is, and then how you would sell somebody in your department to go outside of your department.
All right, a lot of questions there. I'll try to
I know I keep going down this rabbit hole, and it just doesn't stop.
Yeah, so I got a lot of my Fire 1, Fire 2 stuff out of the way before I had kids, and then I was like, well, what's next? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of you got to kind of find your niche, I was told. And we had a group of guys who were just really kind of getting the ropes and rope rescue. We got all our rope stuff here in our department. And I'm like, yeah, I like the drills, but I'm definitely not going to be a ropes guy. And then I started hearing things about RIT, and rapid intervention teams were just starting to become a really big thing at that time, early 2000s. And then I found out about through word of mouth of the department that there was a school up in Tomahawk, and I started looking into that. And they had a RIT class and a firefighter survival class, and you had to take a firefighter survival class in order to get into the RIT class. So I think it was like back in around I want to say 2020 or 2003, 2004, in that time frame. So I took a RIT class, or the firefighter survival class up in Tomahawk, and then I took a RIT class up there. And then ever since then, RIT's kind of been my thing. But then life gets busy. You have kids, you have other career, in your full-time job that makes the money and pays the bills. You got to give that priority at times too. And for a long time there I made all my drills, made a decent number of calls, but I didn't really have time to do additional things at that time. Love the fire department. Now, things have changed so much in the fire service over the last couple of years. I talked about going to this training in Verona, how that opened up my eyes. And then since then, I've taken more RIT courses. I've taken more search courses. Last year, I went down to firemanship, and I took Beauty in the Basics, all about, hose advancement and flow as you go type of concept and water mapping. And that was amazing class, in addition to this electrical vehicle fire class I took. The key is you really need to get outside of your zip code and talk with your department and talk about a training budget. For me, that wasn't in our training budget. I pay a lot of that out of my own pocket. I'd be able to do that, and I'm very thankful for that. I know not everybody's in that situation, but you got to keep pushing it and then bring it back to the department and train everybody else on what you learned. Because if you go to those classes and you know that, all right, I'm not coming here to slough off. I'm learning everything I have here because I am expected to teach everybody what I just learned. And when you come back, it's not like, look at me, look at all these skills I know. This is what I was taught.
Right.
I'm just teaching you the same thing I was taught. Right.
Yeah.
And the water advancement class was amazing because we've got all, combination nozzles right now, fog nozzles. And we went through and tested smooth bore, and everybody had a chance to see what it was like using smooth bore, and making a push for it. And hopefully we have some smooth bore here. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. You said what year did you go to firemanship?
Last year.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you plan on going again this year?
If I do, it won't be for a hot class just because of timing and cost. I'm hoping to maybe get in one of the lecture series, a day or two of that this year. However, I am going to, it's called Watertown Hot in May. And I'm really excited about that. I'm doing a ladder class on Saturday, and then I'm doing a command class on Sunday. And the command class turns into the RIT class they have in the afternoon. So I can't wait to be a part of that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I apologize if there was a scream in the background. Like I said, I'm in a dorm with roommates. But anyways, let me see. Okay. Got two to pick here from. How important do you feel about physical fitness on the volunteer side? How do you institute that in the volunteer fire service and keep it as a priority? I know we touched a little bit on it, but if you want to take that.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Physical fitness is so important. I mean, we're doing the same job. People, when 911 gets called, when people call 911, they're not thinking, oh, it's a volunteer department coming. They're thinking they don't know if it's volunteer or not. They just want you to come and fix it, right? And I mean, I've been on calls before where I was on a call one time where there was a shed on fire, and it was a long driveway up a hill, and we had to stage down at the road, and it was for a mutual aid call. And to get from where our squad was up to staging area, it was a hike, right? And there was a group of people in staging, and one of the guys, by the time we got to the top of where staging was at the top of the hill, he was gassed. And that's when we were getting our assignment to go.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to be able to perform. We have to. And you have to find a way to make it a priority. And I know it's tough, man. You know, guys are doing construction jobs and they're coming back at 7:00 at night, barely making it time for drill. And then they got to do their family stuff and their chores and whatever. It's really hard. But if you can just, you know, I really like, if you've listened to the episode with Roy Smalley from the Mayville Fire Department. He's a fitness coach, and he's got great suggestions out there on how to start chipping away and making fitness a part of your normal life. And if you just stay disciplined to it, it really helps. For me, I'm lucky enough. I work from home most of the time out of my home office. So, you know, I'm able to make calls during the day for the most part of it. But also for my lunch hours, I run down to the station and lift weights or run or something like that. So I've got time dedicated. So I'm lucky. I know not everybody has that, but we have to find a way to make it important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's a big push for it right now, just in the fire service as a whole, like, you know, Back of the Bay and Fit to Fight Fire, and those other things. So yeah, definitely something that I feel like, you know, I'm fairly new to, but made a lot of progress, but there's still a lot to work to be done with that for sure. What do you see is the biggest challenge for the fire service in the next 20 years?
Oh boy. It's changing so fast. So what we learn today, get used to throw it out the window tomorrow and learn something new. Mm-hmm. For me, that mindset isn't as hard as it might be for some, because in IT, if you're not staying on top of the latest, greatest technology, you're going to get eaten up. You're not going to be able to keep up. Or maybe you're able to, you know, stay with the same technology for a while, but if you're working with a company that's okay with it, great. But something happens to that company and that company goes under, now you've got skills that aren't marketable anymore, right? So you got to stay on top. I look at fire services the exact same way. What's the latest, greatest things we're learning for search culture? What's the newest information that's coming out of the fire rescue surveys? And are we changing our tactics to adapt? Fires are burning faster, hotter today than ever before. We're dealing with different materials. If we're not adapting to the changes in our environment, whether it be the type of responses we're going to, or to keep volunteer fire service alive, and we're not adapting to changes, like we're not making culture changes, we're not changing things around to, you know, make training realistic for others, but yet still meeting standards. I'm not at all for lowering standards, but can we do things differently to be makes ourselves more welcoming to others, and to make sure that we offer different times for training and offer different schedules and things like that. So if we don't stay on top of that stuff, we won't survive it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I can't add anything else to that. That was good. I got one more for you here. What's your biggest piece of advice for a new person coming into the fire service on day one?
I've said this before to others, so it might sound like a broken record, but your career in the fire service, whether it's volunteer or career, think of it as a marathon and not a sprint. Take one day at a time. When you first start in the service, you know, I was there too. There's all this excitement, and that's great. We want that energy. Sometimes that energy revives someone who's been there for a long time already and is looking for a little help to get that momentum and motivation going again, right? But take things slowly, learn things the right way, and don't be too eager to jump into the next level right away. So in other words, hey, you know, you get on and you get through fire one. All right, I'm going to drive the truck. Okay, now I'm going to be a pump operator. Okay, now I'm ready to be an officer. You know, to take your time and learn it. And those things will come to you when you're ready and when it's your time to do it. And don't rush it. we got a lot of really young people in the officer roles in the statewide right now, and a lot of people who are just pushing to get there so fast, right? It'll come to you. Let it come to you. I was in the department for 20 years before I put on a red helmet or an officer helmet, right? And I was happy to be the role that I was in. And there was a couple times where there was positions opened and some came and talked and said, "Hey, I think you should do this." I'm like, "No, I don't think it's my time right now." But then later on, I had more time in my free time in my life to be able to give back more. And it was the right time. So here I am. And it comes to you. And if you rush it, you don't want to be putting yourself into a position where you're not ready for it. I grew up working on farms, but I wasn't a farm kid, and I didn't drive tractors, and I didn't have experience driving truck and things like that. So it took a long time for me to become efficient and confident driving all our rigs, right? And I probably went through the certification process we've got of, you're good to run this truck on a call, a lot slower than others have. But I'm glad I went slow versus putting myself in a situation where maybe I wasn't comfortable with the tender and I went around a corner too fast and turned the thing over. That would be really hard to recover from.
Yeah. No,
it's a marathon, not a sprint.
No, absolutely. I got through my questions, and we had quite a few questions too from people. Is there anything else that you want to throw out there? Just advice for anybody, something else on your mind. There's anything that you want to
I would just say, if there's anyone who's ever thought about it, who's listening to this about fire service, maybe if you're like me and you're able to work out of your home office and you're in a rural community that is dying for help right now, check it out. Check out the fire department. It's such a good way to give to your community. You can save lives, you can save property, you can be brothers and sisters to others, and it's fun. It is so much fun. I mean, one of the first calls I was on, I got sent in as the overhaul crew, and remember the officer is like, "Hey, you want to tear open this wall a little bit, see if the fire extended in this bedroom?" And I ripped that whole room open, and it was a blast. And there's nothing better than destroying things, right? But not making sure that the public doesn't think that we just destroy stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, I've heard like 100 people say that they don't want people's houses to burn, but if it does burn, they want it to happen in their district.
Yeah,
that's So well, Dan, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on. It was an awesome conversation. I look forward to having you back on. Like I've said in past episodes, I eventually want to start going through my guests, want to farther down the road and just catch up with everybody. So again, I really appreciate it. It was an awesome conversation.
And thank you, and kudos to you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And so this was the first time I was being interviewed, and I think I was told yesterday by one of the other guys on the department, "Hey, you know how to be a better interview is to be interviewed." And so this was a good experience. And now we're going to switch this around. And in one of the upcoming episodes, I'm going to have you as my guest. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. And I will definitely reach out to other people too. I think you have an interesting perspective, and your message and everything's gotta get out there more. So I would love to see you on some other people's stuff as well.
Very good. Very good. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody that tuned in and asked some questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Thank you so much for the time.
You're welcome.